I'd like to turn to Jeremy Wyant for the My Build for this evening. Jeremy, welcome.
Thanks, Jim. This is tonight's this month's My Build. We've got 4 folks that are going to present some of the work that they're doing. And let's get started. And we're going to be right back to Jim here. So Jim, take it away.
Well, that's one of my models. This is a trolley that originated from Portugal. Mine's a 2-truck version of it because I didn't have a single truck, but this trolley originally was a single truck trolley. It's located right now at the Rock Hill Trolley Museum in Pennsylvania. And I found out about that from Martin Breckville, MMR, who shared that information and then gave me some links to the museum. The trolley is scratched out of brass. The trolley pole, the boxes, everything except the figures and the wire and the cloth and the flag and some other signs and so forth, the couplers, the trucks, everything else is scratched out of brass, except the sides. The sides are drop sides because the trolley originally used to haul coal in Portugal and fish from the port. So the sides dropped down, and that I think that gave me more trouble than anything else. Is trying to figure out how to build it where the sides would actually function. But it was a fun project, and I really enjoyed it.
Any questions for Jim on that build?
Well, I'm sort of kind of curious on how they carried the fish.
In the sides came up and they loaded it just like they would a gondola.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Next up, we've got Bob Farquhar. Bob, are you on?
Yes, sir. This is a HO scale kit by Monster Model Works. The 1964 on the top of the sign. He had a limited edition of these things. You can put whatever year you want on there, or a name, whatever. And this named after a buddy of mine. His name was Bill Kelly, and I called it Kelly's Haberdashery. In the window there are the shirts and ties and suits and stuff like that, and that's all cut from a magazine article. So anyway, that's it.
It's a neat structure.
So Bob, how much of that kit is direct from the kit, and how much did you add to it?
The only thing I added was the interior. The rest of the kit is the complete the way it is. Yeah, it's all laser cut wood, actually. It's all
say the brickwork is laser cut.
Yeah, and they painted this with chalks as well.
How did you started by priming it and then doing
it? I put the chalks directly on. I actually started with a light gray chalk, simulate mortar, and put then on there heavy with a stiff brush. Then I did the reddish color, the iron oxide color over top of that. Yeah.
That's a great looking building. Like I said to you in email, I wish they had it in O scale.
Oh yeah, right on. Right on. Yeah, he has nice kits he has.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that, Bob. That's great.
Okay. And I tried to get that green color being a Kelly green because the same name of the store and the name of the store.
Yeah. That's great. Next up is Dan Cohen. Dan, I think you finally got on tonight, right?
I think I did. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. So this is my layout's an HO scale switching layout that I'm building, and the buildings I'm doing are kind of mock-ups. I didn't intend to finish them. So my brother tasked me with this. He created a Davies commercial printing for me, and so I did the design in PowerPoint. This is a prototype picture of the paper roll. So he also works for a printing company, and so they take these printer rolls off rail. They don't send anything out by rail. They don't send any finished product, but they take these off. So the thing that intrigued me is the claws that they use on these forklifts. And there's a whole bunch of different styles, but this is one of those styles. So of course I challenged myself with the impossible. So I started to do kind of a proof of concept. If we can go to the next slide. So in here, I thought I could work with some plastic and some of the styrene I had on hand. So I bought these little cable clamps that would fit essentially around the paper rolls. The paper rolls are going to be 1/2-inch styrene tube. So I cut them down, and I wanted to use some of the curvature on there to be part of the claws. And I'll put this out to the group because I have a question for you guys on this, but I'll come back to that. So I had some angle styrene that I tried to put on as kind of the clamps. Then I tried the just some strip styrene. And then I also did a little wood mock-up to see if that's something that would work. That's a lot easier to work with than the plastic. So what I had trouble with is finding a glue that would stick the styrene to this plastic. At the end, if anybody has any suggestions of what type of glue would bond these two, or if I'm just out of luck and I have to find something different, because I've just not had luck with that. Let's go to the next slide. So I use that tube, and there you see that's I think that's an 010 styrene sheet. It's really flexible, really easy to use. I didn't have anything really fine point except a pen, which made kind of a mess on styrene. And then I eventually went out and got a pencil with those thin lead points, so it works much better. But I'm just doing circles and circles and circles and cutting and cutting and cutting. I'm doing that while the show is going on too. The other thing I did was I created a little jig to mark off on the tube for cutting. So that was a little fun way to figure something out, and that worked pretty good. Then you see on the last picture, here I am gluing those all together. Okay, next slide. And so here's some of the build pieces here. So I just put a little bit of wood backing on the sign. I used foam core that I have and some scrap wood that I have to build the floor on the inside. Cut out one side where the forklift will go in and out, putting in the paper rolls. And then I have one final slide here. And so this is the first mock-up was, again, more scratch wood that I had. And there you can see me kind of fitting the paper rolls, seeing how they look. And that's just a boxcar I got at a local hobby shop pretty cheap. So, and I like it doesn't need to have that wide of a door frame, but that's helpful. What I intend to do with this to kind of super detail at some point is actually cut the roof off. And I want to put a full load or pieces of the load that I can take in and take out of the paper rolls. There's a document I'm using. It's like the AAR, and it has all of the stipulations on all the sizes of paper rolls, how you brace them inside, what materials to use. So this is a very long-term project. So I'm kind of just at the beginning here. And that's all I have for you. But really, if anybody can help me with what kind of glue would bond those two together, that would be helpful.
Yeah, Earl Hackett here. Hey, if that's an acetal, I'm not sure what the materials those clips are made from. If it's an acetal, it's a real problem. If it's
Okay.
if it's a polypropylene, you could flame polish it and glue it with just about anything.
Okay.
When I say flame polishing, you take a propane torch and you just waft it over the surface real quick. You're not trying to melt it or anything. You just want to oxidize the surface.
Gotcha.
And then you could, when I have a tough thing like that, I use this product called Welder. The only place I know to get it is on Amazon.
Okay.
And it sticks everything. It sticks like there's no tomorrow.
Okay.
If it doesn't work, I don't know what will.
Okay. Yeah. Again, it was a first try. If I can't get it to work, I'll move on to something else, and see what we can do. But thank you for that.
And I suggest looking at some brass hose clamps instead of the nylon.
Okay.
The brass would be a lot easier to work with.
Exactly.
Okay. And where can I do? Is there any
Most-
specific place I can find?
Most hardware stores or any place that handles scientific supplies should have it.
Thanks, Paul.
You're welcome.
That was great, Dan. Any other questions or feedback for Dan?
When I was
Assuming not.
driving truck, they used to use rubber mats underneath those rolls in the truck boxes, and the trailer. And I don't know if they use the same thing in rail or not, but they very seldom ever actually braced them inside. They just set them down on this rubber mat. Of course, I was hauling ones that were about 6 or 7 feet high.
Yep.
And they're pretty damn heavy. Most of them weighed anywhere from about 3,500 to 5,000 pounds per roll.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah, so the thing they talk about in the document is making sure it arrives without any damage because the paper on the outside and all that. So with the minimum damage. And so that rubber probably kept them from moving. And if they're stuck in there in the truck, they don't have a lot to move. They're not going to get damaged a lot.
Another thing you have to really be careful of is water damage.
Yep.
One
Yep.
time I had a trailer that had damage up by the roof, and it actually had like a cut through the side, and the shipper refused to load it because he figured, if I drove through a rainstorm, that water would come in and go down and ruin the paper, because there's an awful lot of, if it gets wet on the bottom or the top, you got to scrap that whole roll, and that's a heck of a lot of paper.
Yep. That's money. Yeah. Agree. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to switch now to Clark Kooning, and then we'll come back, and I have one last slide on the next My Build. So Clark, are you want to share?
I will. Let me share screen if I can. Yeah. All right. Everybody see this, I guess. This is a project that I started probably 20 years ago. I was building then HON3, and I found these cars by in an article, and I forget the article. I think it was in RMC at the time. And these are called Quincy and Torch Lake ore cars. And they just spoke to me, and I said, I got to build some of these. So I was working on my car certificate at the time. So I built a bunch of these. And one of the things I did, now this isn't quite the right fixture. I just realized that after I took the picture, but I built all the cars in a plastic or styrene jig so I could get them all the same, because I wanted to build several of them. And so that's just kind of the jig, not the Pacific one I use, but similar to it. And here's another one that I used for building H13 stock cars, so I could get the angle of the braces and making sure everything is vertical. So if you're building a lot of cars and stuff, a fixture like this really works well. So this car is sort of the last one left. I even stained all the wood like 20 years ago, and that's sort of I was working on this car a little bit this this week because it's been such crappy weather. I haven't been out fishing. So here I am putting some more nut bolt washers in and stuff along the sides and filling in the sides. Now I didn't put the end post in because I had to put this metal strap in and put all the MBWs on. Now the MBWs, they're all made on my own casting, and I actually use hot glue in the casting, and then I pop them out and put them on. Here's the inside of that car. That's and there's a lot of angles to it, and so forth. And here's more the damn NBWs. Woohoo! This is one of the cars that I did complete, and this was entered in a couple of NMRA contests and so forth, and did very well. I think I got 121 points out of the 125 with them. The neat thing about all this is that it's got external brake gear. And all of this brake gear was all cast and molded by myself. So the only thing that was really on this car were the trucks, which are exempt, some chains, and the couplers. Everything else was basically made in molds of. And this one's seen heavy service. It doesn't carry a lot. A lot of stuff falls out of it. And here's another one. This is sort of the second car in the set. This one was a little bit more useful to the railroad that would actually carry some stuff. And but they're only small little cars. They're only about 3 inches in length. Actually a little shorter, 2 3/4 inches. And but they're neat little cars, and I really enjoyed building them. There's a bit of a crooked angle. That's better. I really enjoyed building them. This one I broke the coupler just as I was taking the pictures, so I have to apologize for that. But they were neat little projects, and I've been sort of working on them over the last 20 years. But I have a set of 6 of these in total. That last one that you saw, that's you don't need to see that one. That's for another clinic that we'll be doing on plastics. But these cars are really neat, and if you're looking for something to challenge yourself, they're a lot of fun. So I've enjoyed building those.
That was great, Clark. Any questions for Clark?
Yeah, I got a question. We hear about those nut bolt washers all the time.
Yeah.
Those are period piece, right? I want to do modern. I don't have to worry about those, or are they on modern cars?
Well, they're mostly rivets on modern cars. Now there are nut bolt washings. That's where the hand grabs are mounted to the car.
Okay.
They usually put a big bolt in there, so you should if you really want to get technical, you have to put those in. Now, as I've said before, one of the things that you have to do if you're building a car or a structure for your AP points, you have to use a prototype that will score you the maximum amount of points. So if you use a basic car, you're only going to get basic points for it. So if you say, well, how come I didn't score 100 points? Well, in the matrix, it's a very simple car. And the maximum you're going to score, no matter how much you do to it, is going to be maybe 85 points. And you're going to be 2 points short.
All you got to think about is Olympic diving. Every time they tell you about how hard the dive is and the points you can get, the harder dive you do, the more points you can get. It's exactly the same.
Exactly. That's right.
The harder the attempt, the more points you can get when you get close to it. So that was a really important thing on one of the clinics we did out here on AP and how to score, is to understand that it's not just how well you model, it's what you've chosen to model.
Exactly. As I say, you gotta pick a prototype that's going to give you the maximum amount of points. And the diving is a good analogy. If you don't, if you pick a cannonball, you're going to get 2 points. And by the way, don't forget Montreal, hopefully the Stanley Cup winners in 2 weeks. That's it for me, unless there's any more questions.
Yeah, Clark, it looks like you had a lot of time on your hand to do molding. Was the fishing bad or what?
Yeah, well, believe it or not, I think I made half those molds like 20 years ago when I made the other cars.
That was before
Um,
you started fishing or what?
Oh yeah, well, the weather, we've had rain here almost every single day. Today it's been just torrential and it's about 60 degrees. So I have not been out fishing. So, and it's supposed to rain until like Thursday.
Well, I would thought that
Fish like rain.
having it rain and all that, because fish are already wet, it wouldn't be bothering them.
Well, it wouldn't bother them, but it would tick me off.
Hey, so thanks very much, Clark, and everybody else that presented tonight, and thanks for the discussion too. I think that's a really important part of these My Builds. Jim already mentioned some of this, but the next My Build is scheduled for July 24th. If you have a project, whether it's completed or not, we'd like that you'd like to show, send me the photos. I thought it was a great mix today of work in progress and work that's been completed and techniques and things like that. So that was great. And as Jim mentioned earlier, this next show is a opportunity for the folks that were involved in 2 build-alongs for the Hunter Line King Post Truss Bridge and for the LaBelle kit. And as Rick said, there's a discount on the next purchase that'll be raffled off. And I understand there'll be a free kit from LaBelle for the winner of that raffle. So it looks like that should be a good show, and you've still got a month to keep to work through stuff. And Rick, I hope to be talking to you a little bit so we can kind of coordinate our end. I think it'd be, since you know all the folks that are working on the Hunter Line kit, we can talk a little bit about that and try to get everybody to show what they're working on, even if they haven't had time to finish it. So my email's up there. And once again, thanks to Hunter Line and LaBelle for these prizes and raffle prizes, and for all the work of the folks that have worked on these build-alongs as well. So that's it for My Builds tonight.